What's it like to fast for 14 days, to go 14 days without food? Well, I'm here today to share my day 14 fasting results, and we're following a process here outlined in the book Qigong for Weight Loss that I've been following in this series. I'm just going to do a little bit of a recap for anyone joining us on this day 14 video. 14 days ago, I began not eating any food and only drinking water. For the first few days, there's a bit of an adjustment to that. Within the first day or two, maybe there's a slight feeling of hunger for most people. I didn't really experience that on this fast because I've been practicing fasting for the past year and a half regularly. I've done many 5, 10, or more day fasts throughout the past year and a half. In fact, I've probably fasted about 50% of the time. About half the days I haven't eaten anything. Now, after a small adjustment period, the one thing that I will point out that initially, when you're adjusting to fasting, you may be tempted to sleep a little more. I think it's a good idea if your body's telling you to sleep, then to sleep. It also helps pass the time in those first few days while your body's adjusting to no food. Typically what will happen after a few days, let's say 1 to 3 days, sometimes it comes sooner, sometimes it comes a little later depending on your body. Once you've burnt through all the glucose that's stored in the form as glycogen, the sugar, your body's used to processing that for energy. But once that's gone, once you've burned all of that, then your body goes into ketosis and it starts burning fat. And that's what the ketosis, the popular keto diet, does, is put your body in ketosis. Well, what the keto diet does is it mimics fasting because you're not getting those sugars. So after a few days, you move into this ketosis period. And once you've rested and kind of caught up in your sleep and your body makes that adjustment, it starts to get used to burning fat, then we typically will have a period where we have this sort of drug-like experience where we're really relaxed. We can stare at the wall for an hour and just be happy sitting there pleasantly, calmly, meditatively. It's almost as if our entire day is a meditation. My favorite explanation for this was in a blog post that I linked to back on day 3 or 4, where he explained that the feeling was like taking happy pills and sliding down rainbows. That feeling doesn't necessarily go away. I think we just get used to feeling like that mellow, that relaxed. After that, there's a boost of energy that comes, and now that we're not eating food, we're not consuming about 30% of our overall energy on eating food, then we have more energy for living, and for me, my need for sleep dropped. Then you sort of settle into this phase where you can kind of feel that you're fasting, but you're not hungry, but you're still more aware. Like when you drink some water, it kind of goes through your system a little differently. You feel it more sensitively. Your senses are more heightened, so your smell, your hearing, it all is amplified. Sort of a natural response to not having food. In nature, you need to have more acute senses so that you can go out and find that food. And another thing for me is, since I wasn't eating as much food, I was feeling cooler. Like normally I'd be kind of warm or wanting to turn the fan on, wanting to open the window. But without the food in my body, without my furnace of my metabolism burning that energy, I actually felt cool or even cold. So I would want the fan off, the window closed, when I typically would want some airflow and some cooling. I just felt nice and comfortable. In fact, there was even a few times where I put on a sweatshirt during the daytime, which I normally wouldn't do. That feeling is past, and actually I'm surprised now at how I'm actually a lot warmer. Now I'm sort of back to normal. This happened around a few days ago, like it's day 14, but I noticed over the past few days, it's been a gradual thing. It's sort of crept up on me. I hadn't really noticed when this happened, but I'm much warmer, and the feeling of just feeling normal. Like I was, during the first 7 days, I was more aware of the fact that I wasn't eating. It just was more present in my mind. Now that it's been 14 days, and for the past few days, it's just as if it feels like I might have eaten recently. Food just isn't part of the equation. I'm warmer inside, and it just feels normal. I feel normal without the food. Food isn't even a thought. If I see something that looks good, I can appreciate that it looks good. It might smell nice. I appreciate that it smells nice. There's no desire whatsoever to eat it. I've even cooked several meals throughout this process for my wife. My stepson's birthday, he requested one of my personal favorite meals, and I cooked that without a real desire to eat it or a temptation to eat it. So where am I at today on day 14? Well, there's a convergence of a few things. So I've come down to about 212 pounds from close to 240. I was at like 238. So over 25 pounds today. And I realized that I haven't been under 200 pounds since around 2007 or 2008. I'm not sure the last time I weighed in at under 200 pounds, but I've been over 200 pounds and slowly gaining weight, and I got up to well over 300. So before I started Qigong, I was wearing 3X shirts that were actually starting to fit me tightly, and I think part of the desperate plea for something new was I didn't want to ever wear a 4X. I was already in a 3X, which was, prior to that, 2X was like my most extreme, and then I went back down. So now the fact that I was in a 3X, the 3Xs were starting to become snug. I was really worried and determined not to go up any further. So I got to the point where I was wearing like my 1 or 2 3Xs that still fit. There was a few 3Xs that didn't fit. Then when I tried Qigong, in a period of 5 months, I went down, from a size 44 or 46 waist. I went all the way down to a size 34, 36 waist, and threw away all the 1X, 2X, 3X clothes, and now I'm wearing a large, and I've just lost over 25 pounds in 2 weeks. So now I'll probably be looking at some medium-sized shirts when this fast is done. But being so close to 200 pounds, at the rate that I'm going, I'm still losing roughly a pound a day. Now, I'm expecting at some point that to slow down, but I'm pleasantly surprised that I'm still losing a good amount of weight every day. The goal is to get under 200. So if my 21-day fast, which is scheduled to end on Easter, if that ends and I'm 205 pounds or 204 pounds or 207 pounds, I'm going to continue to get under that 200-pound mark. My goal is to, weight-wise, is to get under 200 and then never go above 200 again, using what I know about Qigong and the Qigong for weight loss material. This is an easy practice, and the funniest thing about it is, while you may think it's hard not to eat any food, the week prior to this fast, I tried to eat normally. I ate 3 meals a day for half of that week, and I was eating, 1 or 2 meals a day for the first few days of the week with a few snacks here and there. I was trying to eat as normally as possible what regular people eat so that I could simulate the fast, feeling what regular people might feel. Now, I haven't been eating that way for the past year and a half. I've been eating OMAD, 1 meal a day, in a 1-hour time window when I do eat, or I was fasting completely. But an important thought for today is the Qigong principle, and I've talked about this, sort of hinted around this topic, but this is coming at it from another angle. And part of the philosophy that I really love with Qigong is it's training to learn to embrace the uncomfortable. So in life, we're going to encounter challenging situations. And if we always back down from a challenge, if we always quit when something is uncomfortable or even a little bit painful, if we know it's good for us, we should proceed. So we do need to learn to embrace that discomfort and embrace that pain. Now, why are we uncomfortable? Why is it sometimes painful? Simple answer is we're not used to it. So by practicing Qigong, you're going to learn, you get a different perspective on things. You start to see this clearly. You start to see that our habits are just a software program that rule our lives. Our brain, just to make things easy for us so we don't have to think deeply all the time, this is comes from our evolution. It comes from survival. It comes from, managing resources properly. When you get in the car and you drive to work, and then sometimes you get to work and you say, wow, I don't remember driving here. That's because it's an automatic habit. Now, this habit wasn't comfortable. When you first started to drive, the car jerked and you made mistakes, and it was uncomfortable and it was very awkward. Over time, you built this habit, and it became one of the easiest things in the world to do. It became automatic. There is so much in our lives that is a habit, and we think that we're choosing to do it, but it's really just a habit. And our eating habits are very, very habitual, just as driving. So in that process, our body uses emotions to reinforce habits. So what typically feels good, even though it may be bad for us, it may be destructive, is when we continue our pre-programmed habits. So it's comfortable because we're so used to doing it. So even destructive habits like smoking cigarettes or hanging out with destructive people, you say, well, they're my friends, but they may be people that aren't good for you. Any outside observer may feel that, but it feels good because we're so used to doing it. And in the practice of Qigong, we always look for a comfortable challenge. That's what Qigong's all about. It's not about 10 times in your effort and going doubling and tripling all the time. It's just about keeping it comfortably challenging. You do a little bit more, just enough to make it hard. And over time, you really increase your capacity. It's a related principle is Japanese Kaizen, where you just get incrementally 1 or 2% better every day, or even 0.5% per day adds up to an enormous amount of change over time. So, there's one Qigong standing posture, which we're going to cover in future videos, where you basically just hold your arms like this. And if you've never heard of this, just try holding your arms out like this and see how long you could do it. Well, after a few minutes, if you haven't done this before, you will realize, okay, this is challenging. And at some point, you'll see how challenging it is. But you can actually cultivate the ability to do this for hours effortlessly. You can use the Qi to support your arms. Now, in doing this, you're inevitably going to reach a point where this becomes very challenging. So, embracing that challenge for growth is part of the process here. So, what challenges have I experienced? Now, the fasting part of this has been pretty easy for me. I've been doing the Qigong, as I've outlined in the book, which makes this fasting process far easier. It's giving me a lot of the energy that I was used to getting from food. I'm getting it from Qi. So in that department, it's all good. Now there's a few interesting challenges with this. The biggest challenge for me, since I hadn't been doing daily videos, I hadn't been doing daily blog posts, and I hadn't even had my blog fully set up, I hadn't had the social media account set up to start getting this message out there. So for me, the greatest challenge was to do this intense level of fasting, keep up with my Qigong, which the Qigong thing wouldn't even be hard. It just, it's become a time management issue for me because these videos take hours to produce. Finally getting it down to a little bit more of a system where I can do things more quickly. But for the first week, I was was spending about 4 hours a day just recording the video, editing it, and then posting it online and writing a blog post that goes with it. Now I'm getting that job done in 2.5 to 3 hours, but I'm trying to keep the quality up for you. So for me, that's been the biggest challenge with this whole situation. There is a hidden benefit when you're fasting. If you don't have a project that you're working on, if you're not doing something that's easy enough for you to do it, it shouldn't be tremendously physically challenging. But if you don't have like a project you're working on, a book you're reading, something that you're doing, then it's just going to make it seem like longer. You'll have more opportunities to think about food because that's your old habit is to eat. So it is good to keep your mind occupied. I've had a tremendous experience with that. My mind has been very occupied with this project. But that has been the most challenging part, is keeping up with the daily blog posts with this. But in doing that, it's getting more comfortable. I'm creating the habit, and do anything for 36 days or 72 days. Everyone has different numbers. But once you've done something for a month or two, then it becomes easy. It's your habit. You're able to just do it. And now you have the benefits of that. Qigong has really helped with that because it allows me to experience discomfort, but to embrace that. Because whether the energy is comfortable or not, energy is energy. It's not good or bad. We actually want to see energy flowing. So it's going to be more uncomfortable when it's blocked, and it's going to get more comfortable once you've opened the pathways. The process of opening new energy flow is at times uncomfortable and at other times exhilarating. Sometimes it's just purely exciting, and then you open up new pathways that just become comfortable. Sometimes it's exciting and pleasurable, but still uncomfortable. Sometimes too much joy, too much happiness, too much excitement can also be uncomfortable. The practice of Qigong allows us to pay attention and see it for what it really is. And if we just pause our judgment and relax and embrace what is, then the transformation can happen. So today I'm feeling great. I'm feeling like someone who isn't fasting. I'm feeling just plain normal. I'm really thoroughly enjoying making these videos because people are starting to find it. I'm starting to get some comments, and that is exciting for me. So I would love to hear about your experience, whether you're following this in real time as it's happening, or if you're here a year or two from now when it's being recorded. Please share your comments. I'm committed to reading all of them and responding to as many as I physically possibly can. I'll be back tomorrow with more Qigong wisdom and more fasting results as I continue for the next week of fasting, and then possibly longer until I at least hit that 200-pound mark. And another thing I want to share is that my commitment was to do the 21 days. So if I stop the fast at day 21, I have succeeded. I've fulfilled my commitment to the world and to myself. If I choose to go further, at this point I'm considering that. I really will wait until day 21 and see how I feel. And then it'll probably be more of a day-by-day, how do I feel? Do I want this to continue? I'm feeling so much better right now than when I'm eating. And if I compare my picture, my face, if I look at this video compared to day one, I can see that I look healthier. Obviously, lost a lot of weight. Now the shirt is getting loose. It's a great feeling, and I want to continue feeling the feeling that you have when you're living off of Qi. So for today, I'll say, how la.